Welcome to the Pre-Snap Podcast presented by LineStar. We got your best player prop bets for this Friday night showdown in South America. Alongside Tyler Wiemann, I am Shannon Sommerville. The Packers going up against the Eagles to kick things off in Brazil in this one. And this is the first time in 50 years we've had a Friday night game to kick off week one. So it's an exciting game, and I think there's a lot on the line in this one. What's your take on this overall matchup, Tyler?
I mean, it's definitely two teams that I'm very excited for this year. I think the Eagles under Kellen Moore are going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how that offense comes together, how it changes. If one of Devontae Smith or AJ Brown is in that CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen type role. And then on the Packers side, I'm just excited to see that offense as a whole just grow and be together one more year. It was exciting last year, and they should just be better this year.
Yeah, last season, I mean, things just went south quickly for Philadelphia towards the end of last season. It was kind of an epic collapse, but on the flip side, the Packers kind of came out of nowhere. They took it to Dallas in Dallas, which was just pretty exciting to see. So a lot of eyes are definitely on the Packers, specifically this offense led by Jordan Love. Now for Philadelphia, they had to have some changes. Tyler, you alluded to the one change with offensive coordinator Kellen Moore is now there in place of Brian Johnson, who's now with the Commanders. Also no Jason Kelce at center for the Philadelphia Eagles. So will we continue to see the brotherly shove? That will be something to keep an eye on in this one. Also, the Philadelphia Eagles got a new wide receiver in Jahan Dotson. And of course, their notable acquisition this offseason, they went and got running back Saquon Barkley. Also, there was a lot of offseason rumors of some contention between Nick Sirianni and his quarterback Jalen Hurts. So how will that all unfold on the biggest stage in Brazil? We'll find out. But for the Packers, they also had some changes. Now, we didn't have any change in quarterback. Jordan Love coming off that impressive season, threw for over 4,000 passing yards. They did get a new running back, though. Josh Jacobs from Las Vegas, one season removed from leading the NFL, but had kind of a lackluster performance last season in a pretty miserable Raiders offense. But now with a pretty exciting offense, will be interesting to see what Josh Jacobs does. I know a lot of fantasy owners are depending on him. Also, AJ Dillon, season-ending neck injury for him. So while that is super unfortunate for AJ Dillon and his prospects for fantasy, best ball, whatever you've got him in, it is good for Josh Jacobs in terms of that workload. He will probably continue to see the bulk of the carries in this one, especially since the running backs behind him are a bit more inexperienced in this one. So just a couple things to take note of as we get into this. We'll get into our prop bets, and we will also have touchdown calls of the game. And at the end, Tyler and I will just pick a winner. So let's get things started with our prop bets. They are available on Underdog Fantasy, Sleeper, CHALKBOARD, ParlayPlay. And if you don't have those apps yet, download them. Use the promo code LineStar so you can get, not only can you get a nice deposit match, but you can also get a free month of LineStar. So make sure to take advantage of that deal. And the tool that Tyler and I use on this show is called the PropsAI tool. You can find that on the LineStar app. It's a great tool that'll help you find the best value in the prop market. It compares LineStar's projections to what the lines are out there, regardless of what sportsbook you're using. We have all the different ones on that platform, so check it out when you can at LineStarApp.com. And lastly, one more note. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and comment below, because if we go 3 for 3 on our picks, one randomly selected commenter will win $50. You got to be in it to win it. Make sure to comment with your lock for this Friday night contest. Let's get into it now. We'll start things off with LineStar's pick. Then Tyler and I will give our favorite picks in the night. Starting things off with the PropsAI pick from the LineStar app, Saquon Barkley. Calling for a night of the Quadfather. Over 64.5 rushing yards for Barkley. LineStar's projection, 73.8. The consensus also just over that at 66.1. Now, Barkley averaged just under 69 rush yards per game in 2023 with the New York Giants. And that was, Tyler, behind one of the most atrocious offensive lines in the NFL. They were actually ranked third worst in team run blocking grade last season at 41.1. To put everything into context for you, 9 offensive linemen for the Giants played at least 250 snaps, and none had a run blocking grade above 70. Now he goes to Philadelphia. They have the second best offensive line despite losing Jason Kelce. So I love the spot here for Barkley. What do you think of this prognosis of taking the over here?
I like the spot going over. Not only was that Giants offensive line terrible, but also you had a quarterback that didn't scare anybody. He faced a ton of, 8-man boxes, and that's just not going to happen versus the Eagles, or with the Eagles, I should say. So the other thing here is DeAndre Swift averaged 65.6 yards per game with Philadelphia last year. And I think Barkley can get a couple more extra yards than DeAndre Swift. So I love the over here. And we know Green Bay, will give it up rushing a little bit. And they just kind of do that bend but don't break thing, which is good for running backs.
Yeah, they ranked 22nd in terms of rush yards given up to running backs last season. And while they did make some changes to their defense, I don't see them. They really haven't ever been a top 5 rush defense in terms of over the past couple, 5 years or so. So I see that continuing. Saquon Barkley, they brought him in for a reason. They're going to get a heavy dose of the quad father in this one in Brazil, especially since I think both teams might lean on the run game a little bit more in kind of a interesting environment where I'm guessing it's going to be pretty loud at that stadium, and they're just kind of going to get in there, get out of there, no injuries. Let's give it to the running backs in this one and exploit where we can, especially on the ground game. And also keep the ball away from a pretty prolific quarterback in Jordan Love, who can really start to light things up on offense. That's my guess anyways. So let's take Saquon Barkley over 64.5 rushing yards. Now it's time for Tyler and I to give our picks of the night. What you got, Tyler?
I'm going to go with Luke Musgrave over 23.5 receiving yards. That's a minus 120. Our LineStar projections 27.1, consensus 24.9. This is a guy that is 6'6", 250. He runs a 4.6. And to give you a little comparison, Gronk was 6'6", 260 and ran a 4.7. So the guy has a little bit faster wheels than Gronk at similar size. He was an early second-round pick last year, and Philadelphia is 26th versus the tight end over the last 9 games, allowing 61 yards per game. Musgrave averaged 32 yards a game as a rookie, which is well over this line, and I think with another year in his belt, we're going to see a lot of good things out of him this season.
Another note to add to your pick there, which I really like, Eagles are going to be without their linebacker, Devin White, in this one. He's out with an ankle injury, so he won't go on Friday. So that could mean good things, maybe trying to get it over the middle a little bit more to guys like Luke Musgrave in this one. So I like your pick there. For my pick, I am going to the Packers player that PFF has called the secret superstar of the Packers, and that is Dontayvion Wicks. We're going over 29.5 receiving yards for him. Now, in this game, Romeo Doubs has been a little bit limited in practice with a hand injury. How much does that play into things? Not quite sure, but what we do know is that in 2023, Wicks was a player who averaged 38.7 receiving yards per game, and he was over that 30 reception or receiving yards mark in 8 of 15 games last year. He's a versatile receiver who can pretty much line up anywhere. He's a really good route runner, and what we love is his yards after catch ability. Listen to this stat. From weeks 10 to 18, Wicks averaged an impressive 7.1 yards after the catch. That was 9th best in football during that span among receivers. Also, his route running is elite, 72% success rate versus man. And when we look at the Philadelphia pass defense, it completely fell apart at the end of last season. They finished second to last in yards allowed to opposing wide receivers. Now, while they have spent some time trying to improve that this offseason, taking a look at the secondary for Philadelphia, yes, Darius Slay's pretty great, but James Bradbury's on IR. Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell are rookies. CJ Gardner-Johnson might be a little rusty. He played just 2 games last year. So this is a good spot for some of these Packers wide receivers, and we don't really know who's going to be the Packers lead guy on that alpha receiver. It could be Wicks. Jordan Love did kind of allude to the fact that he thinks Wicks is in for a monster season. A lot of people have labeled Wicks a super sleeper in fantasy. I think he has a coming out party in Brazil in this one, so I'm going Wicks over 29.5 receiving yards. What do you think about Wicks' prospects, not only for this game, but for the season?
Well, I have a lot of them in best ball, so I definitely hope he has that coming out party. It would be nice if it happens early. think that 29.5 for the caliber of receiver that he is a little too low. But I do expect him to break out at some point this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who has drawn comparisons to be Devontae Adams like.
Yeah.
So I gotta trust our
Pretty
scouts
high
that have,
praise.
yeah, it was some pretty high. Well, Devontae Adams like feet, I guess, is what the scout was referring to with that assessment. But either way, Wicks in a really good spot in this one. I do want to bring up that we were discussing, because I think this will probably be a popular pick, either maybe the over or under, but I think that'll get a lot of action is AJ Brown's receiving yards. And in this one, I just couldn't quite bite on either side of this one for AJ Brown, just because I feel like Jair Alexander is going to be perhaps on him like glue the entire game in this one, which could severely impact things. He has gone against Green Bay twice throughout his career and didn't rack up more than 50 receiving yards in either of those games. One was with the Titans, one was with the Eagles. So I was hesitant to kind of pull the trigger on that one. LineStar's projection does have favor the over with that one, but I thought it was worth discussing because I knew it would be a popular one that people might throw out there. What do you think?
Yeah, both receivers. Smith has struggled a little versus the Packers as well. So, that's another notch in our pocket for the Saquon Barkley pick there. But yeah, AJ Brown could have a difficult role. We know that defense could be a little bit different this year, but yeah, that's typically what we've seen.
All right, so our three picks, just to recap: Saquon Barkley over 64.5 rushing yards, Luke Musgrave over 23.5 receiving yards, and Dontayvion Wicks over 29.5 receiving yards. For more picks, more analytics, everything you need to dominate, whether it's daily fantasy or prop betting, check out the LineStar app when you can. Now it is time for touchdown calls of the game. Tyler, where are you headed for a touchdown call in this Friday night contest in Brazil?
I got to go to Jalen Hurts plus 100. How it breaks down, the Packers rush D is just a little worse than their pass defense, and Hurts is better value than Saquon. Saquon's minus 110. Hurts is even money. Meanwhile, Hurts has had 3 double-digit rushing touchdown years in a row. Last year, he had 15 touchdowns. Jason Kelsey could or is gone, but I do not think the brotherly shove will be, and I think Hurts probably gets in.
All right, the tush push alive and well, according to Tyler. We'll probably see it in this showdown for sure. Okay, for my pick, I'm also going with an even money touchdown call here, and we're going with Josh Jacobs for the Packers to get into the end zone. I think he'll see a heavy workload. As I mentioned at the top of the show, A.J. Dillon is on IR. This is also a much better offense than the one he received handoffs from when he was with the Raiders. So even though he had a bit of a lackluster season, I think he's in for one that's much better, where he finds the end zone much more than 6 times like he did last season and had a season-low touchdown accumulation there. According to Pro Football Reference, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon combined for 78.2% of the Packers' red zone attempts and 76.5% of the team's carries inside the 5-yard line a season ago, and neither of them are on the Green Bay Packers anymore. So I think this role is for Josh Jacobs to exploit and find the end zone at even money. So I like our touchdown calls for this one. Remember to check out the LineStar app when you can for all of our tools to dominate in daily fantasy and prop betting. And if you haven't by this point in the show, do us a huge favor. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and comment below. We have a ton of content coming out lately. Our breakdowns of our Thursday night, Friday night, Monday night games. Plus, we'll also have our Underdog Fantasy weekly pick'em show, and we'll also have a regular prop show as well, in addition to our MLB picks that we're here with daily. So make sure to give us a like and let us know where you're headed in terms of prop bets or the sides when you can. Oh, before we get to the end of the show, Tyler, who's your pick for this one? Who's winning this game?
Oh, I think this is a very tough one. What's the spread on this game again?
2.5 in favor of the Eagles in this one, actually.
Yeah, I got to side with the Eagles. I think they are a little bit better. This is going to be such a tough game, though. It's anybody's ball game, but I'll take the Eagles.
Yeah, when I look at the Eagles, I feel like I have a little bit more faith in the weapons at Jalen Hurts' disposals, especially with the addition of Saquon Barkley to the mix. I think Kellen Moore will find ways to exploit this Packers defense. I agree with you that I got to go with the favorites in this one, the Philadelphia Eagles, especially with Saquon now there. I just like this, but I think it's going to be a really close game either way. I kind of wavered back and forth, but I'm going to go Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. In Brazil. Let's go. Friday Night Football.
Yeah. I mean, this game totally could go either way. Like,
absolutely.
I think that -2 could be a little too much, but I'm definitely excited to watch this one.
I think in terms of how I've read reports of how the Eagles are approaching this too. I mean, this is kind of like a must-win game for them, and I know like every team kind of says that heading into the season, but for them, I think it really is important for them to all get on the same page and establish some leadership roles, especially with Jalen Hurts and with all of those reports of kind of some turmoil behind the scenes with their head coach, Nick Sirianni, and Jalen Hurts in this. And also, you should know that Nick Sirianni is 3-0. He's undefeated as a head coach, one of only 3 active coaches that are undefeated in their season openers. So just a little side note there. I think he stays undefeated in this one. So go ahead.
Another thing to note, though, is that it is a new offense for the Eagles.
Yeah,
Packers,
totally.
Are pretty much the same. They didn't really change too much there. So it could take a little bit for the Eagles to kind of really get rolling. But I think they just have a little more talent.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll stay tuned to this one. Let us know what your picks are for this game in the comments. And again, if we go 3 for 3 on our prop bets, one randomly selected commenter will win $50. So good luck in all of your prop betting endeavors. We'll see you next time on the LineStar YouTube channel.